Hi guys, welcome back to JanQuest. Today we have another deck profile for you. It's one I've been meaning to do for a while, people had requested it, and it is Lycanroc EX. There's some nice spicy cards that I've tried teching into it since 151 came out, so I just thought I'd share it with you. It's a great little fun rogue deck that you really do not want to attack into, as it will have a revenge mechanic. So without further ado, let's get to it and make sure you subscribe to the channel. So we start off with 3 copies of Rockruff. We're actually playing 2 of the single strike one. I think this one's better. Crunch, which for 2 fighting energy hits for 30 and it can discard a energy from your opponent's Pokemon. And we play 1 of the normal Rockruff from Paldea Evolved. Quite niche why I put this one in there, but I thought if I'm putting both the single strike ones out and they run Drapion with a DTE, it can be live early on. So if I know they're playing it, maybe I can put 1 of these and 1 of these just so protect against that. But it's not going to come up very often. Then we play 3 copies of the Lycanroc EX, so 260 HP. It's got Rock Throw, which hits for 40 for 1 energy, so it's always nice just to have low energy attacks. And then the main mechanic of the deck is the Scary Fangs attack. So for 1 fight in 2 colourless, this hits for 140. And then when it is attacked, the turn after this attack, it places 10 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So to turn that effect off, they have to boss around it basically, otherwise they're going to take more damage. So if you add the 100 onto the 140, it's pretty much adding up to 240 damage. So we know, for example, that Gardevoir is prevalent in the meta, and when it puts the Psychic Energies on with the Gardevoir EX, it puts 2 damage counters on. So things like the Zacian and the Shining Arcana Guardi are very susceptible to the Scary Fangs Retaliate mechanic. And then we have other ways as well to bump that 10 damage counters up in the deck. So next up in our engine, we're playing 2 copies of the Miraidon EX. You can play it with a DTE engine, but I've gone full fighting energy. Plays around Temple of Sinnoh, I guess. Might play more into Path to the Peak, but I just like the extra damage and not having it reduced by DTE. So with Miraidon, you really want to be able to discard a lot of energy on your first turn. If you go in second, you can discard a lot of cards as well, and then you can use Dino Cry to attach 2 from your discard. So that makes your Rockruffs and Lycanrocs live for your second turn, so you can get your attacks off. Or depending on the matchup, you might just want to attack with Miraidon itself, as it can hit 220 and take easy KOs. We also play a copy of Hitmonchan, which is new in Pokemon 151. It's very in theme with the deck with its counter attack, so when you attack into it, you put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. It doesn't have to attack first or anything, it's just its passive ability. And then we have Excited Punch, so for 2 fighting energy, it hits for 60. Then the next turn, if it attacks again, it hits for another 60 on top, so it can hit for 120. But just a nice little single prize attacker. Next up we play a copy of Radiant Alakazam. So we don't use this for its Mind Ruler attack, but for its Painful Spoons. So once per turn you can move up to 2 damage counters around on your opponent's Pokemon. So as you're putting a lot of damage counters on the board with the Retaliate mechanic, the Painful Spoons can allow you to take multiple KOs in a turn or just finish off Pokemon that they're retreating, etc. It's very flexible in how you use it. And we play another new card, which is the Mew EX from Pokemon 151. Just helps add a little bit of consistency with Restart, being able to draw up to 3 cards per turn. Very importantly, it has a free retreat cost, so it's a nice pivot in the deck. With Gutsy Pickaxe needing to attach to bench, this is always really good to put into your active, and then you can switch around as needed. Gutsy Pickaxe can also attach to the Mew, so genome hacking can be powered up quite easily in this deck, so you can, for example, take KOs. If Greninja is in the active, you can do some bench damage, so very flexible card. Really important piece in the deck is the Squawkabilly EX. Like I said, you want to discard a lot of cards with this build, so going first, I'll try and grab a Squawkabilly, discard a hand has energies in it, and then especially if you're going second, you can also like Professor's Research on top of that, so can get your Dino Cry live with the Miraidon. You can also use Motivate as well to hit for 20 and then recover energies, but it doesn't come up very often. And then we also just play 1 copy of Manaphy just for the bench protection, as well playing some quite easy targets for the likes of Greninja with the Rockruffs. Moving on to the items, we want to set up consistently on our first turn. It's really important for us. So we're playing 2 copies of Nest Ball, 1 copy of Heavy Ball. This is mainly because it's really rough if you bench that Squawkabilly. And then we're also playing 4 copies of Ultra Ball, so you can also discard the energies to set yourself up and just grab any Pokemon that you want. And then we're also playing 4 copies of Battle VIP Pass as well. So there's lots of ball searches and things just so you've got your consistent setup. Next we play 4 copies of Gutsy Pickaxe, which is probably the best fighting item card in the game. So reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a fighting energy, attach it to one of your bench Pokemon. If not, add it to your hand. So it's always just replacing itself in hand, just helps keep your deck very consistent. And it's also really good for your energy acceleration. I'm just playing 1 copy of Trekking Shoes. I've played more turbo fighting builds before with things like Tinglu, playing like up to 4 copies of this, but just playing the 1 because I can search it with Arven as well. It's just a good 60th card to put into your deck. It just adds a bit of consistency, and if you ever need to search it out with Arven, then you can use it and go a bit deeper into your deck. Just kind of nice to have. 1 Super Rod just helps you recover your Pokemon and your energies. You obviously want to have energies in the discard early on, but really good in the grind game, and if you lose something important like your Alakazam or your Mew, it's just good to be able to grab that back again. And as Pickaxe attaches to the bench, I've just put in 2 copies of Switch and 1 copy of Escape Rope as well, just to help with that rotating your Pokemon out. Escape Rope is good as well for obviously disrupting your opponent. Moving on to the supporters, we play 4 copies of Professor's Research, the best supporter in this deck because you want to get your energies discarded and just set up really consistently. So being able to discard and draw 7, very, very strong, not much to say about that. Playing 1 copy of Arven. This is good because we play a few tools to help boost the damage from the retaliation. So this can grab that, and it can grab item cards as well. For example, your Gutsy Pickaxe, a Switch card, or a Trekking Shoes if you just want to dig into your deck. Play 3 copies of Iono. Brilliant card, hand disruption, can help reset your own hand and then Squawkabilly it if there's nothing in your hand that you want to get rid of. 2 copies of Boss's Orders for the Gusting, and 1 copy of Raihan. Raihan's a really good card, one of my favourites. Can accelerate an energy onto your Pokemon, which this deck can struggle with other than the Pickaxe, and then grab a Private Knowledge card from your deck as well to help in any way you need in that situation. Onto the tools, we're only playing 3, but we're playing 2 Vengeful Punch and a Rocky Helmet. So the Vengeful Punch is the main one, as when this is on a Pokemon which is KO'd by an attack, you put 4 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So this stacks really well with the Scary Fangs, which puts 10 damage counters on. So if they KO your Lycanroc with one of these on, then you put 14 damage counters on. Plus that you will have attacked for 140, which brings it up to 280, which is really nice. And you can also obviously use the Alakazam to move it around. I'm playing 1 copy of Rocky Helmet. I would play a Rigid Band in its place just to boost the health of the Lycanroc up to 290, which does protect against quite a lot of attacks that can one-hit like V-Stars and things. So you can get potentially 2 Scary Fang Retaliates off, but I can't find one at the moment in my binder. But Rocky Helmet is what I was previously playing anyway. So with the Scary Fangs, the 10 plus the 2, it can be enough that a Cramorant will not want to attack into you, for example. But I'd probably say Rigid Band is the better option if I could find my copy. But yeah, these cards combined with those, so you can put up to 14 on with that, 7 on with that, and then move them around with the Alakazam to take knockouts. And you can also search these out with Arven. And we're just playing 2 stadiums. We're playing 1 copy of Collapsed and 1 copy of Beach Court. Collapsed is nice because it's quite a defensive deck. So if you think something's going to be KO'd, you can retreat it, bump it with Collapse, and especially any deck that I play Squawkabilly in, I tend to play a Collapse as well, just because it's kind of a sitting duck on the bench. Beach Court, there's quite a lot of 1 retreat cost Pokemon in here, so just help switch it around. Like I said, there's a lot of times you want to get something from the bench to the active after you've put energy onto it, so this just helps. I didn't really want to play Artisan because it's a really good card, but it helps the opponent a little bit too much for my liking in this deck. And we do play plenty of balls to get set up in the first place. Another card I was thinking of trying was Lake Acuity, as it can help you tank more damage, and then potentially you can get another Scary Fangs off, for example, and spread some more damage. But there is a lot of water decks in the meta, and there's also energy cards which attach 1 of every energy, which is also going to add to protection, so I thought that might potentially help your opponent as well. It's something I might test. and they're obviously also out to pass to the peak as well, which, especially for your first turn, you don't want to be sat on the board. But if you let us know in the comments what you think. And then finishing off, we just play 11 of the basic fighting energy. You want to play plenty, as you need to discard them early on, but also have enough that you're going to fairly consistently hit them off your Gutsy Pickaxe. So that is the profile. I hope you've enjoyed it. Really fun deck, and it has some really interesting matchups, going quite favourably into Gardevoir, for example, as long as you don't leave the Miraidon as a target for them. Obviously it hits for weakness into Miraidon, it can hit weakness on Arceus, and it's also quite good against single prize decks because they have such low HP. It can be quite annoying for them to attack into this thing. If you've enjoyed this profile, make sure you leave us a like and subscribe to the channel, as it really does help us out. Drop us a comment what you think of the profile, anything you'd add or take away. Really appreciate the feedback, and until next time, see you soon.